In this video we're going to look at some exam questions on thinking distance and stopping distance. Pause the video now and try the questions. So question 1 says use the data given to fill in the information missing at a speed of 32 meters per second. So the first thing we notice is we've got the thinking distance. The thinking distance is the distance you travelled while you're thinking. And what are you thinking about? You're thinking about braking. So this applies whether you're in a car or if you're running on a bike. You have to think about stopping and you move a bit and then you actually start stopping. Braking distance is the distance you travel while braking. So it takes time to actually stop. Oops, spelled braking wrong. And then the total stopping distance is thinking plus braking equals stopping distance. So what is going on in this table? This speed is doubling, the speed doubles again, and then the speed doubles again. So if you double the speed, your thinking distance also doubles. But what happens to the braking distance? Your braking distance has gone up by 4. Is that a pattern that holds? Well, absolutely. That's also gone up by 4, so it will also have to go up by 4. So 24 times 4 is 80, is 96 meters. Your stopping distance is thinking plus braking, so if we add these two together, we get 120 meters. Question 2. One of the drivers here is tired after driving for several hours. Which driver is tired? Well, tiredness, or I'm going to write it actually here, explain why. Being tired increases your thinking distance. Now you might think, well, hang on a second, doesn't it increase my thinking time? Well, it does increase your thinking time, but while you are thinking for longer, you are travelling distance, and therefore your distance that you travel will also increase, and we always need to use this language. So being tired increases thinking distance, so we would expect the thinking distance to be the highest in the driver that is tired, which is this one, Joe. Being tired increases thinking distance because Joe's thinking distance is significantly higher. Now, why have I written that word significantly higher? Well, everyone thinks, at a slightly different speed, everyone has slightly different reaction times. So going from 7 meters to 9 meters, is probably just natural chance or natural variation. It's not suggesting that Sam and Chris are necessarily tired. But Joe, this is, almost double the other ones. Right, one of the drivers was driving on an icy road. So an icy road has less friction, which means it's going to be harder to brake, so this increases your braking distance and which one has the largest braking distance? Again, we see this one and this one, so Chris has a significantly higher braking distance. So we could again say, just to make sure, Chris has a significantly higher braking distance. Final question. Cars fitted with seatbelts, write about the risks and benefits of wearing a seatbelt when travelling in a car. So this is kind of common sense mixed in with a bit of physics, maybe even a little bit of biology. So what is the positives? Well, it obviously reduces the overall force in a crash, keeping you safe. But are they 100% without risk? Well, no. If you had a crash, you might still get a cut or a bruise. A cut or a bruise, because obviously it's still stopping you and it's still going to dig into you. But what would you rather have, a cut or a bruise, or would you rather be seriously injured in a crash? Obviously you would rather be have a cut or bruise. So overall they have a benefit, even though there is obviously a small downside if there was a crash. Is there anything else that we could write for this? Well, I guess you could think about, if there was a crash, what would a negative be? I suppose it could trap you in the car. You know, it might actually take a bit of time to undo it, to get free to escape the car. But again, what is the kind of benefit, or what is another way of saying, you know, it stops you from, you know, being seriously injured? You know, it stops you hitting the windscreen, which is obviously much harder and going to cause you much more damage than being stopped by a piece of fabric that gently slows you down.